The sleek diplomatic shuttle cut through Novanic's lavender atmosphere, its hull gleaming under the light of twin suns. Inside, Earth's ambassador Ilara Reed gripped her seat, heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. After years of preparation, humanity was about to make first contact with the Novari, an advanced alien race whose technology could revolutionize life on Earth. As the shuttle touched down on the crystalline landing pad, Ilara took a deep breath, straightening her crisp uniform. The airlock hissed open, revealing a landscape that defied imagination. Towering structures of what appeared to be living crystals stretched towards the sky, their surfaces pulsing with an inner light. The ground beneath her feet hummed with energy, and the air carried a sweet metallic scent. A delegation of Novari awaited her, their tall, slender forms draped in shimmering robes that seemed to change color with each movement. Ilara's translator implant buzzed to life as the lead Novari stepped forward. "Welcome, Ambassador Reed," the alien's melodious voice resonated in her mind. "I am High Counselor Zorn. We are honored by your presence." Ilara bowed her head in respect, careful to follow the protocols she'd studied. "The honor is ours, High Counselor. Earth extends its hand in friendship and looks forward to a prosperous alliance." As Zorn led her towards the imposing council's spire, Ilara couldn't help but notice the absence of female Novari. Every member of the delegation, every worker they passed, was male. She filed the observation away, focusing instead on the task at hand. The council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, its walls alive with shifting patterns of light. Ilara presented Earth's proposal for trade and cultural exchange, her words echoing in the vast space. The Novari councillors listened intently, their expressions unreadable. As the session concluded, Ilara felt a prickle of unease. Something wasn't right. The Novari's responses had been polite but guarded, their questions probing deeper than mere curiosity warranted, and still, not a single female Novari had been present. That night, as she lay in her quarters, Ilara's mind raced. The key to a successful alliance lay in understanding the Novari, and she was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. With determination, she made a decision. She would uncover the truth about the Novari females, no matter the cost. Little did Ilara know, her quest for understanding would plunge her into a web of secrets that could either forge an unbreakable bond between their species or ignite an interstellar war. Days turned into weeks as Ilara immersed herself in Novari culture. She attended council meetings, toured research facilities, and engaged in countless discussions with her hosts. Yet, the mystery of the absent females gnawed at her. It was during a state dinner, amidst the clinking of crystal glasses and the hum of polite conversation, that Ilara finally broached the subject. "High Counselor Zorn," she said, careful to keep her tone casual, "I couldn't help but notice that I haven't met any female Novari. Are they perhaps engaged in different societal roles?" A hush fell over the gathering. Zorn's face tightened, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin pulsing rapidly. "Ambassador," he replied, his voice strained, "some topics are sensitive. The females of our species are not a matter for discussion with outsiders." Ilara pressed on, her diplomatic training kicking in. "I apologize if I've caused offense. As an ambassador, it's my duty to understand all aspects of Novari society to foster better relations between our peoples." Zorn's eyes darted around the room before he leaned in closer. "Very well, Ambassador, but this conversation must remain private." He led her to a secluded balcony overlooking the Crystal City. "The females of our species possess abilities," Zorn began, his voice barely above a whisper. "Abilities that can be both a gift and a curse. They can manipulate energy on a fundamental level, influence minds, even alter reality itself. For the safety of all, they live in seclusion, that power's contained." Ilara's mind reeled at the implications. Contained? Against their will? Zorn's expression hardened. "It is necessary. Uncontrolled, their abilities could tear our world apart. You must understand, this is for the greater good." As Ilara opened her mouth to respond, a commotion erupted in the dining hall. Shouts of alarm rang out, followed by the sound of shattering crystal. Zorn rushed back inside, Ilara close on his heels. In the center of the room stood a figure that took Ilara's breath away. A female Novari, her form crackling with energy, eyes blazing with an inner fire. The males around her cowered, their fear palpable. Enough. The female's voice boomed, shaking the very foundations of the building. We will no longer be silenced. Before anyone could react, the female's gaze locked onto Ilara. In that moment, a connection formed, a bridge between two vastly different minds. Ilara gasped as a flood of images and emotions washed over her, centuries of oppression, fear, and longing for freedom. As quickly as it began, the connection broke. The female Novari vanished in a blinding flash of light, leaving behind a room in chaos and a human ambassador forever changed. Ilara stood rooted to the spot, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. She turned to Zorn, whose face was ashen. "High Counselor," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within, "I believe we need to have a much longer conversation about the true nature of your society." The incident at the state dinner marked a turning point. The carefully constructed facade of Novari society had cracked, revealing a deep-seated conflict that threatened not only the potential alliance with Earth, but the very fabric of Novari civilization. As Ilara delved deeper into the mysteries surrounding the Novari females, she found herself walking a dangerous line between her duty as an ambassador and her growing sympathy for the oppressed females. The truth, she realized, was far more complex and dangerous than she could have ever imagined. The aftermath of the female Novari's appearance threw the diplomatic mission into chaos. Ilara found herself caught in a storm of accusations and suspicion. The Novari Council, led by an increasingly agitated Zorn, demanded to know if Earth had somehow orchestrated the incident. "This is preposterous," Ilara argued in an emergency council session. "We had no knowledge of the situation with your females. If anything, this incident highlights the need for open dialogue between our species." But her words fell on deaf ears. The Novari males, their fear and mistrust now in full display, began to close ranks. Trade negotiations stalled, cultural exchanges were cancelled, and Ilara found her movements increasingly restricted. As tensions mounted, Ilara received an urgent communication from Earth. Admiral Jansen's holographic form flickered to life in her quarters, his expression grave. "Ambassador Reed, the situation has escalated beyond our worst projections," he said without preamble. "We've detected unusual energy signatures around Novenix. The Novari are mobilizing what appears to be a defensive fleet. The Joint Chiefs are pressuring for a preemptive strike." Ilara felt the blood drain from her face. "Admiral, a strike would be disastrous. There's more going on here than we understand. We need time." "Time is a luxury we may not have, Ambassador," Jansen replied. "You have 48 hours to stabilize the situation, or we'll be forced to take action to protect Earth's interests." As the hologram faded, Ilara sank into her chair, the weight of two worlds pressing down on her shoulders. She knew she had to act, but every diplomatic avenue seemed closed off. It was then that she felt it, a subtle tug at the edge of her consciousness. The memory of a connection she'd shared with the female Novari during the state dinner flared to life. With it came a realization: the key to preventing a war lay not with the Novari males, but with the very females they sought to contain. Throwing caution to the wind, Ilara slipped out of her quarters under the cover of darkness. The crystal city was eerily quiet, its usual luminescence dimmed. Using the knowledge she'd gleaned from her mental connection, she made her way to the outskirts of the city, where the crystal structures gave way to natural rock formations. There, hidden in the shadow of a towering cliff, she found what she was looking for: a shimmering distortion in the air, barely visible to the naked eye, a containment field. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to do. She reached out, her hand trembling, and pushed through the field. The world around her shifted, reality bending in ways her human mind struggled to comprehend. When her vision cleared, she found herself in a vast cavern, its walls pulsing with the same bioluminescence as the Novari themselves. And there, watching her with a mixture of curiosity and wariness, stood dozens of female Novari. One stepped forward, her eyes locking with Ilara's. With a jolt, the ambassador recognized her as the female from the state dinner. "I am Kaida," the Novari female said, her voice resonating in Ilara's mind. "You are either very brave or very foolish to come here, human." Ilara straightened, meeting Kaida's gaze. "I'm here because I believe the future of both our species depends on understanding each other. Will you help me?" Kaida studied her for a long moment before a smile tugged at her lips. "Perhaps there is hope for your kind after all. Come, Ambassador. We have much to discuss, and little time to prevent a catastrophe." As Ilara followed Kaida deeper into the cavern, she knew she had taken the first step on a journey that would either save two worlds or condemn them both to destruction. The clock was ticking, and the fate of Earth and Novenix hung in the balance. In the depths of the cavern, surrounded by the soft glow of bioluminescent crystals, Ilara listened intently as Kaida revealed the true history of the Novari. The female Novari's voice resonated not just in Ilara's ears, but in her mind, each word accompanied by vivid mental images. "Long ago," Kaida began, "our people lived in harmony. Males and females, each with their unique gifts, worked together to build our civilization. But as our technology advanced, so did the power of the females. Some males grew fearful, seeing our abilities as a threat rather than a blessing." Ilara saw flashes of a past golden age, crystal cities rising from barren plains, Novari of all genders collaborating on grand projects. But the images darkened, showing conflict, fear, and eventually, the forced seclusion of the females. "They claim to protect us, to protect society," Kaida continued, her voice tinged with bitterness. "But in reality, they fear what they cannot control. Our abilities could revolutionize Novari society, push the boundaries of science and exploration. Instead, we are trapped here, our potential wasted." As Kaida spoke, Ilara felt a deepening connection forming between them. It was more than just empathy. There was a resonance, as if their very minds were attuning to each other. She realized with a start that she could sense the emotions of the other female Novari around them, their frustration, their hope, their curiosity about her. "This is extraordinary," Ilara breathed. "I can feel everything. How is this possible?" Kaida's eyes sparkled with interest. "It seems, Ambassador, that your species has untapped potential of its own. Perhaps this is why you were able to breach our containment field." The implications were staggering. If humans possessed latent abilities similar to the female Novari, it could change everything, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. But there was no time to dwell on the discovery. Ilara quickly briefed Kaida on the escalating tensions between their peoples, the threat of war looming over them. "We need to find a way to bridge the divide," Ilara urged. "To show both our species that cooperation is not just possible, but essential." Kaida nodded, her expression thoughtful. "There might be a way, but it will be dangerous, and it will require trust, something that has been in short supply for both our peoples." As Kaida outlined her plan, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. It was audacious, potentially catastrophic if it failed, but if it succeeded, "I'm in," Ilara said without hesitation. "Whatever it takes to prevent this war and forge a true alliance." Kaida reached out, taking Ilara's hand in her own. The moment their skin touched, the mental connection between them flared, stronger than ever. Thoughts, memories, and emotions flowed freely between human and Novari. In that moment of profound understanding, Ilara knew that the fate of two worlds now rested on this forbidden connection between them. As they began to prepare, gathering other female Novari who were willing to take the risk, Ilara sent a silent prayer to the stars above. For in the next few hours, They would either change the course of history or watch as their civilizations tore each other apart. The crystal city of Novenix was in chaos. Alarms blared, their haunting tones echoing off the towering structures. Novari males rushed through the streets, their usual composure replaced by panic and confusion. In the sky above, the first signs of the human fleet could be seen, pinpricks of light growing ever larger. At the heart of the commotion stood Alara and Kaida, surrounded by a group of female Novari. They had emerged from their hidden sanctuary, their sudden appearance sending shockwaves through the city. "We don't have much time," Alara said, her voice tight with urgency. She could feel the weight of Admiral Jansen's ultimatum pressing down on her. "We need to reach the central spire and broadcast our message before either side does something irreversible." Kaida nodded, her eyes glowing with determination. "My sisters, and I will clear the path. Remember, Alara, focus on the connection between us. It's the key to everything." With that, the female Novari sprang into action. Alara watched in awe as they wielded their abilities, creating shimmering force fields to deflect attacks, bending light to conceal their movements, and gently subduing any male Novari who tried to stop them. As they fought their way towards the central spire, Alara found herself tapping into the mental link she shared with Kaida. Through it, she could sense the ebb and flow of the Novari's abilities, the intricate dance of energy they commanded. Suddenly, a squad of heavily armed Novari security forces blocked their path. Alara felt a surge of panic, but before she could react, her body moved on its own. With a gesture she didn't know she possessed, she created a ripple in the air that sent the security forces stumbling backwards. Kaida flashed her a grin. "You're learning quickly, Ambassador. Now, let's show them what our combined strengths can do." Working in tandem, human and Novari female, they pressed forward. Alara's newfound abilities, while not as refined as the Novari's, added an unpredictable element to their advance. The male Novari, caught off guard by this display of human potential, fell back in disarray. As they neared the central spire, a familiar figure appeared before them, High Counselor Zorn, flanked by the remnants of his security detail. "This ends now," Zorn declared, his voice quivering with a mix of fear and anger. "You've doomed us all with your recklessness." Alara stepped forward, her hand intertwined with Kaida's. "No, Counselor. We're here to save us all. Please let us pass." Alara stepped forward, her hand intertwined with Kaida's. "No, Counselor. We're here to save us all. Please let us pass. Let us show you what we can achieve together." Zorn hesitated, his eyes darting between Alara and Kaida. In that moment of uncertainty, Kaida acted. With a subtle gesture, she created a shimmering portal behind Zorn and his guards. Before they could react, they were gently but firmly pushed through, reappearing moments later at the far end of the plaza, safely out of the way. "Impressive," Alara breathed, still amazed by the Novari's abilities. "Thank you," Kaida replied with a smirk. "Now, let's finish this." They rushed into the central spire, racing against time. Above them, the human fleet had taken up positions around Novenix, their weapons primed and ready. On the ground, more Novari forces were mobilizing, converging on their location. The central chamber of the spire was a marvel of Novari technology, its walls lined with pulsing crystals that served as a hub for all planetary communications. Kaida and her sisters immediately set to work, their hands dancing over control panels that responded to their touch in ways the male Novari could never achieve. "We're patching you through to both the Novari population and the human fleet," Kaida informed Alara. "Whatever you're going to say it now." Alara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of two civilizations on her shoulders. She reached out, grasping Kaida's hand, drawing strength from their connection. As she began to speak, she felt the power of the female Novari flowing through her, amplifying her words, making them resonate not just through speakers and transmitters, but directly into the minds of all who could hear. "People of Earth, "People of Novenix," she began, her voice steady and clear. "I stand before you today not just as an ambassador, but as living proof of what our species can achieve together." As she spoke, Kaida and the other female Novari projected images into the broadcast, visions of the potential future that awaited if their peoples could overcome their fears and work together. Ilara felt her own latent abilities awakening further, adding her own human perspective to the alien visions. "The female Novari are not a threat to be contained, but the key to unlocking the full potential of both our species," Ilara continued. "Even now, I can feel the power that lies dormant within humanity, waiting to be awakened through cooperation and understanding." She went on to explain the true history of the Novari, the misunderstandings that had led to the current crisis, and the incredible advancements that could be achieved if they worked together. As she spoke, she could sense the shift in the minds of those listening, doubt giving way to curiosity, fear transforming into hope. "We stand at a crossroads," Ilara concluded, her voice ringing with passion. "We can give in to fear and destroy everything, or we can embrace this opportunity and forge a future brighter than either of our species could achieve alone. The choice is ours. Let us choose wisdom over war, understanding over ignorance, unity over division." As her words faded, a profound silence fell over Novenix and the human fleet above. In that moment of quiet, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. The silence that followed Ilara's broadcast was deafening. For a breathless moment, it seemed as if the entire universe was holding its breath, waiting to see which way the scales of fate would tip. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering momentum, a change swept through Novenix. The Novari males, their minds opened to the truth by the combined power of Ilara's words and the female Novari's projections, began to lower their weapons. In the sky above, the human fleet powered down its offensive systems, standing down from high alert. Within the central spire, Ilara and Kaida clung to each other, scarcely daring to believe that their desperate gambit had worked. Around them, the other female Novari were weeping, overwhelmed by emotions long suppressed. The spell of silence was broken by the chirp of Ilara's communicator. With trembling hands, she answered the call. Admiral Jansen's holographic form appeared, his face a mix of awe and cautious optimism. "Ambassador Reed," he said, his voice filled with respect, "it seems you've managed to pull off a miracle. The Joint Chiefs are standing down. We're opening diplomatic channels with the Novari as we speak." Ilara smiled, exhaustion and relief washing over her. "Thank you, Admiral. There's so much to discuss, so much potential to explore. This is just the beginning." As if on cue, the doors to the central chamber slid open. High Counselor Zorn entered, flanked by a group of male Novari leaders. Their faces were etched with a complex mix of emotions, shame, wonder, and a budding hope. Zorn stepped forward, his eyes moving from Ilara to Kaida and back. "Ambassador Kaida," he began, his voice heavy with the weight of history. "On behalf of the Novari people, I extend our deepest apologies. We allowed fear to blind us to the truth, to the incredible potential that lay dormant within our own society." Kaida met his gaze steadily. "Apologies are a start, Counselor, but words must be followed by actions. Are you ready to embrace true change?" Zorn nodded solemnly. "We are. Thanks to you both, we've been given a second chance. We won't waste it." Over the next few weeks, Novenix underwent a transformation. The barriers that had kept the female Novari isolated were dismantled. Humans and Novari worked side by side, combining their unique perspectives and abilities to tackle challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. Ilara found herself at the center of it all, her latent abilities growing stronger with each passing day under Kaida's guidance. Together, they became the bridge between their species, helping to smooth over misunderstandings and forge new connections. The breakthroughs came rapidly. Novari energy manipulation techniques, combined with human ingenuity, led to advancements in clean energy production that promised to revolutionize life on Earth. The mental connection between humans and Novari opened new frontiers in communication technology and even space exploration. As Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City, now alive with a harmonious buzz of humans and Novari of all genders working together, she felt a presence beside her. Kaida joined her, their hands finding each other automatically. "Did you ever imagine it could turn out like this?" Kaida asked, her voice filled with wonder. Ilara shook her head, smiling. "Never. But I'm glad we took the risk. We've opened up a future filled with possibilities I never dreamed of." As they looked out over the city, a shimmering portal opened in the sky, the first test of a new form of interstellar travel, born from the union of human and Novari knowledge. It was a gateway not just between planets, but to a future where the combined strength of their peoples would allow them to reach for the stars themselves. "So," Kaida said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "ready for our next adventure?" Ilara laughed, squeezing Kaida's hand. "With you, always." As they turned to face the new challenges that awaited them, Ilara knew that this was more than just a triumph of diplomacy or technology. It was a triumph of understanding, a testament to what could be achieved when fear was replaced by trust, when differences were seen not as threats but as strengths to be celebrated. The human who dared to get close to the females of an alien race had changed the course of history, opening the door to a future brighter than either species could have imagined alone. And this, Ilara knew, was only the beginning.